Facebook. story just brought up something for me. Years ago, I had a cat that died of an infection, and I think I cried for a week when he died. These are just, I don't know, some of the things I've heard you say that kind of stick in my mind that I don't quite get. One was that you said that the Earth has been populated more than it is today. And I was wondering, was that with humans, or did you mean like with dinosaurs or something?
Your planet is much, 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 much older than any of your geological discoveries have indicated. And you have far exceeded the population that is here now on many occasions. That your population is always in flux.
Was that a human population?
Yes.
Yes, really. Yeah. So, has it been
you are pumping each other into your gas tanks even as we speak.
So it goes back It's tough being on stage with a comedian.
Every good one needs a straight man, however.
I'm always available. And you also said that there have been more technologically advanced societies. Is there any evidence of that, or have they just been so swallowed up into the oil that...
The evidence of it, very good statement. We'll do the funny ones. The evidence of it is vibrational. In other words, it is each generation that comes forth. Now, this is interesting because this is where we want to clarify something, because we continue to talk about how you are the leading edge, and how as you are non-physical energy, and then a part of you comes forth and explores this time-space reality, and from it you give birth to a desire, and then that desire is held in your vibrational escrow, and when you come into alignment with it, then you are able to live it in full manifested form. So when we say that there have been more technologically advanced societies than now, scientists freak out at that. They don't want to hear it at all because they can't find the evidence of it. And incidentally, the thing that holds them back most of all is not only they're needing to find physical evidence of things, but they're needing everybody or many people to agree with the physical evidence that they've found before they will allow themselves to vibrate there, which slows them down very much. But what we're getting at here is, it seems like a contradiction, but it is not, that as your leading edge society asks for more and then comes into alignment, that each society then would be the most leading edge. And we want to explain emphatically that that is always true, but we are not in agreement that the high technology is what makes you the leading edge.
Right.
Because there were civilizations that were doing things with energy that you have not brought yourself back around to, nor need you do. They were deciphering vibrations of sound and light and extracting the power from them in ways that, by comparison, makes this society look like the Dark Ages. And many of you, even on this exploration, aren't you impressed with what they were doing? With mathematics and equations that you did not assume were as much in evidence as they were, and there's far, 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 far more than that, but not necessary for you to tap into it. We are continually reminding you that your quest is joy, and when you come into the vibrational alignment with that, anything that is important to you will occur to you. Do you know what slows civilization down more than all other things put together? You've been hearing us talking about this vibrational escrow, and if you could witness it energetically as the mass consciousness vibrational escrow, you would never again worry about the longevity of what's going on here. In other words, for this swirling energy and law of attraction's response to it to be what it is, your civilizations and your eternalness are assured. But what we want you to focus upon just for a moment, in light of this basis that you are giving us here, is that as all of this is occurring, even as we visit with our deliberate creative, understanding the law of attraction, knowing about deliberate creation, friends in an arena like this, still, it's a rare one of you that accepts that this vibrational escrow vortex exists, and you're still trying to figure out what to do to make the things happen, instead of understanding that they have already happened vibrationally, and your following your bliss will lead you to the culmination or the manifestation, the actualization of them. In other words, the contrast is step one. This is the conversation that we were chewing on with Jerry and Esther yesterday. The contrast is the step one that puts the stuff over there, but then it's done. It's done, it's done, it's done. And your intense scrutiny of how what's done relates to what's manifested holds you in the not letting it manifest category, so that you hold yourself apart from the evolution, from the expansion, and from the materialization of so many things that could come so much faster. So we will not say that there were societies that are more enlightened, because the more enlightened is always on the leading edge. There have been societies that were more allowing of what their escrow were providing, but it's always that way as you become historians, and it's not easy to do because your history is continually rewritten by the painters of the pictures or the writers of the books. None of you have accurate access to anything that has happened before, but vibrationally you do, because the source within you stands as the culmination of all that has been lived. And as you let your dominant, maybe even only singular quest be to come into alignment with that, then, as our first friend said here today, then you get to explore your focused position through those complete eyes, and then the true meaning of life begins to show itself to you in new and powerful ways.
One more thing sort of relating to time. You've talked about, when you plant a seed in the ground, you just know that it's going to take a certain amount of time for it to sprout and grow. And the other day, I hurt my shoulder, I guess, from lifting my backpack or something, the physical reason. But I was thinking, is the time that takes to heal, is that just my perception? I mean, could I just wake up and it be all healed?
Yes.
Or is it just, you kind of expect, well, it's probably going to feel better in a week. But it's really up to me.
Well, everything happens in, these are very good questions, because so what we are talking about here then, the expectation of the seed? Or is what we are talking about that the seed is part of that vibrational vortex now, and all things that are necessary for the culmination of it are coming together? In other words, do you think the seed is consciously in there setting its goals every day and making its statements of affirmation? And even if it were you say, well, it's not a consciousness that has vocabulary, and we are saying it is consciousness. In other words, we're not wanting to hurt your feelings, but the non-physical energy that is being received by this seed is not different from the non-physical energy that is being received by you. And so it is that perspective. It is that let us start at the outside of this question. Your shoulder will come into alignment in the precise amount of time that it takes for you to release the resistance and allow it to be. And that would be the accurate statement about the seed's germination and coming into being. In other words, when the alignment has taken place, then the result always occurs.
So if one seed managed, if it normally takes 2 weeks for the seed, but one seed manages to do it sooner, then another seed might believe that it's possible.
It would be easier for you to make sense of this, will be kind, weird analogy. It is very good. If you could recognize your body, in other words, one seed coming to fruition would be a little inconsequential in the field. In other words, do you think the farmer will go out every day and look for the seed that is germinated and deal with it? Yeah. Or is it better if there is a sort of cooperation and they all come to fruition it is the intent, the broader intent that is being satisfied. And so the seeds are coming forth in the analogy that you've offered in accordance with that broader intent. It would be a better analogy for you and easier for you to understand it if you would understand that in the area of your discomfort, you have trillions of cells throughout your body that are all cooperatively coming into alignment, and each of them individually knowing what to do. And them coming into alignment, as we said the other day, the cells of your body are coming into alignment. It is the thinking mechanism or the captain of the ship that is usually the only odd one out. And so the expectation that you have about it does hinder and disallow the well-being from coming into place as quickly as it could. Really, what all of this is bringing us around to say, and we think that it is the basic theme of this leading-edge conversation that we're having in these days that we are together, you all, in your deliberate creative attempts and in your trying to justify your existence, are being too hands-on in the trying to bring things into place for you. If you could, and so everything that we're talking about, redundant as it is and will continue to be until you get it, and even beyond, because we like this story so much, is that life causes you to do the asking, and source lines up through the laws of the universe, the answering, and it is done, it is done, it is done, it is done, but you don't get to reap the benefit of it being done until you come into alignment with it. And so in every bit of those stories that you told is the expectation that controls when it comes to be. And that's what we were talking about earliest civilizations. There were earlier civilizations that with the power of their mind could produce crops faster through the power of thought. Could produce healing faster through the power of thought. In other words, alignment is alignment. Great.
Abraham, would not...
There's enough trouble on this stage already.
I'll be really good this time. Relative to her analogy, is it something like it's our body's nature to be well?
Yes.
It's our body's nature to develop and evolve and enjoy itself and carry our mind on to joyous experiences, whatever we decide to have.
Certainly.
And so if we throw a big backpack against it, that of course would deter its natural, normal direction that it would continue to try to find, unless we keep throwing backpacks against it or something. Now, I just want to jump to the seed thing. So the same thing with the seed. Is the seed not evolving and reaching out for its joyous, for its expansion, for its development, for whatever it's intending to be? And if we put a rock over it so it can't get any sunlight or water, it still doesn't stop its intent. We've just stopped it temporarily, but its still intention is still to fulfill itself and expand. And so this is as natural as our body. Our body's as natural as the seed. They're all intending to express, and if we get in the way of it, that's just a temporary restriction.
Well stated, and let's take it further. Every seed that you know on your planet could grow in every region of your planet if it were not for the expectation of man that prevents it. Because the seed has the ability to adapt and would.
Just as we do.
Just as you do.
Thank you.
Good.
There's just one more thing that you said that bugs me. Everything else is great. You said there are no new thoughts. But you always talk about us being on the leading edge. But
well, what we mean by that is that every thought that is thought starts from a basis of thought, which means, in other words, you can't begin at the beginning because so much has gone before. So everything that you are from the basis from which you think is part of the new thought that you are now thinking. For if it were not for that basis, that thought could not be. Which is why eternalness is so delicious. It is. Get out.
thank you very much.
We enjoyed this immensely. Yes, indeed.
for some time about molecular, cellular intelligence, about how our bodies are comprised of many different cells, all of which are intelligent, seeking equilibrium or alignment. I was willing to leave it at that. But in the last few days, you've been talking about intelligence and focus on this molecular level, atoms, lifetimes within lifetimes. Now, we know that science has recently discovered that the smallest quantum particles are strands of vibration. So that's...
We're so pleased about that.
Yes. Remarkable.
Yeah.
And so that's getting very specific.
Yeah.
It's getting very small.
Strands of vibration that are sort of learning how to control themselves.
Right. And adjust and align.
Yeah.
So now, that's on a very small scale. So as we pull back, we become more general. Things appear to become physical. Right? We pull back a little bit further, and we come to the earth, which appears to be physical. And
Well, it's all physical.
Right.
It's just longer focus and therefore more momentum.
Exactly.
It's the momentum factor that you're introducing to this subject.
Okay, so now as we become more general, we see the earth, we see the organic film of life on earth. We pull back a little bit further, and we see what appears to be a solar system. Planets spinning around, and we've got the asteroids and all this stuff flying around without my help, which I really appreciate.
Without your conscious help from this perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So then we continue to pull further back, and we see that there's the sun. We pull further back, and then there's, just say, 100 billion suns, just for round numbers, right? And that's a galaxy. Great. That's getting pretty general. Scale's getting out there in intelligence and in purpose.
General and yet really long time focus and lots of momentum and incredible stability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we go further back, right? We get more general, and we see not a galaxy of 100 billion suns, we see 100 billion galaxies gathered together by the law of attraction into what science calls a galactic cluster, right? So we've got all sorts of contrast, billions of suns, planets, comets, asteroids, all this stuff. We pull back further, and we see that these galactic clusters are connected through what is known as the universe by some sort of fiber. It looks like a fiber or a fiber structure of some sort. Pull back a little bit further. Science says it looks like a gigantic sponge of light, okay? Comprised of galaxies, galactic clusters, obviously enormous intelligence involved, obviously great purpose involved, right? So that's a little bit too big of a scale. So I'm going to come back a little bit more practical, come back to Earth. Okay? Earth is something we can pretty much get our arms around, we can understand it. It's on a scale that we can see, we can verify. So, but on this planet Earth, there's a couple of tricks. And I figured while I was here, I'd make a side trip or two. One of them was to go to Egypt. This is just an example. I've had a lot of questions about what's known as the Great Pyramid. It's just an example. So I go and I study the Great Pyramid. I do all this information about it. I come away believing that the Great Pyramid is a microwave generator that was in use for thousands of years before the Great Flood.
Yeah.
Right. Tremendous focus, off-planet, intergalactic focus on something in our past, that for which now we have little understanding, very little use, little point of reference, but there it is. And it confronts one. It becomes a part of this consciousness now. So another example, okay, so let's say that's 20,000 years ago on this planet. Fast forward to maybe 1,500 years BC. Still in Egypt, by the way. These Egyptians have accumulated a science, this is just another example, of the sun. They're fascinated by it. The rotation to the sun has a warp on it. The equator has a warp on it. It has all of these various magnetic influences that affect the planet directly. Egyptians were very aware of this a long time ago. They were aware of it in as much as they could represent it in something as wonderful as royal jewelry. So in all this fabulous royal jewelry is how the sun works. Great sophistication that they chose to encode it into jewelry shows a cultural and shall we say, an emotional sophistication.
And acceptance.
That again, we have not arrived at in this present time. So now we're on the planet, we can just go take a look at South America. Okay, again, gigantic structures, impossible to duplicate, in this time. We have no understanding of why they're there. But the fact is they're there and they confront us. Pre-flood, however old it is, there they are. Tremendous focus and intelligence, again, that's lost to us now. Right? So then let's bring it back to present time. Here we are on this earth. Well, now we're confronted by these UFO things flying around out here. What is all of this? Obviously, something of great intelligence, great purpose, and great focus that, again, exceeds our comprehension as it stands. Now, the possibility is that it is only my attention to this that is creating it. And the other possibility is that I don't understand how this is the leading edge.
Because with all of that intelligence that is out there, there is nothing that can be asserted into your experience. There has to be a combining, cooperative, participating, asking, and allowing. You described the different cultures that somehow, some way, found themselves in that place of allowing that knowledge. So what you're describing is that through all of this that is being lived, that there is desire, that is non-physical, is becoming more. And we've been talking in the hours that we've been together that non-physical is flowing forward with you, but you have to be the translator of it. In other words, that's where inventions come from, that's where mathematical equations come from, but nothing can be asserted into your experience. Source can hold all of the knowing, but until humans are in a place of allowing the knowledge in a way that the momentum can carry them into something that is meaningful, it does not happen.
Okay, so do I correctly interpret what you're saying? Is the more allowing that I have, the more all of this will fall into place, into a perspective?
Yes, and the less you care about how many others are up to speed with you, the more likely you will find that place of allowing, which will allow you to discover something that then will, what were the words you kept offering? It's in your face, it's there to be, it's
Confronts one.
hard to ignore.
Yes.
When momentum becomes tangible.
And it's also, as you mentioned, a solitary experience.
Usually works better that way.
Second part of the question is, in light of this scale, what is blending?
Blending is, you could not have asked a better question at this stage in the evolution of this conversation.
I thought you'd like it.
So, we've been talking about when the snapshot is taken. So there is the sifting through from your point of view and the launching of a rocket. And that rocket then blends with the source within you. That's a function of blending. But you're not a vibrational match to it. But then you learn from us and others. You care how you feel, so you reach for higher and higher frequencies. So you allow a blending, and you feel the emotional harmonics of that. And now, in your vibrational alignment with that broader perspective, you allow momentum to build so that you can then be the expression of that broader perspective. In other words, blending is happening at all stages. The most significant blending that you're reaching for in this conversation is that Source recognizes all that you've been reaching for and is offering steadily the path of least resistance for you to discover it. And as individuals, you have to find your blending frequencies in order to allow those impulses to occur to you. But that's why you sort of have to pull out of the normal conversations, because in that true blending, things will occur to you that have not occurred to others, that have not been proven along the way, and it is, as you say, once they're confronted with the manifestation of it, then they will begin to accept it. We don't want you to think that the world needs exposure to this in order to expand. We really like the conversation that you offered here, because there have been times upon your planet that you were more technologically advanced. And there have been times upon your planet that you have been more emotionally advanced. This is what we call the time of awakening. It's really the time of reawakening, where more of you are coming into resonance with who you really are. Not for the purpose of advancement, because that can't cease. Not for the purpose of being blessed, because that could not be more, but for the personal satisfaction of coming into alignment with the answers that your life has caused you to pose the questions about. For your satisfaction in all of that. We want you, next time you tell that story, it was a good one, and we quibble not with much about it, not enough to mention. Next time you tell the story, put more emphasis upon the satisfaction that the individuals were experiencing in the discovery of all of that. Because that's where it all always is. It's a satisfaction. It's a satisfaction factor that is the missing thing in this human race. You want to expand because you want to claim more worthiness, or you want to expand because you fear your extinction, which will not be. We want you to come round. The pieces that are missing are the satisfaction factor. The basis of your life is freedom. You are so free you can choose bondage. The result of your life is expansion. That will never cease. But if the satisfaction, the joy, is what you're focused upon, then it comes into alignment more quickly. And really, since we are all eternal beings, is there any rush in our evolution?
No, evidently not, no.
And so,
It seems to have been going on for quite some time.
So what's the point of all of it? If there's no rush, what's the point of it? In the moment, satisfaction. In the moment, coming into alignment with broader knowing, and being able then to reflect that broader knowing into this moment in time, into this moment in time.
So if I understand what you're saying, part of it is to gather the satisfaction that came from those accomplishments into my own awareness, into my own alignment.
By accepting that it was only for personal satisfaction that any of it occurred. Because everyone, no matter when they lived, have always been selfishly oriented. And unless you're reaching for the new understanding from the satisfaction factor, then you're not going to blend with that source energy, and you're not going to know what source knows.
It just remains theoretical.
Yeah. Okay. Until you prove it to yourself. Till the momentum has its way with you.
And basically eliminates any other options.
Precisely. That's how momentum is.
Right. Okay.
You've fallen out of the airplane.
Flop my wings a little bit.
Good time for a segment of regression. Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. Having a conversation with Esther, we've decided to let you in. You are knowing what you are wanting? How are you? What do you want to talk about? What are your plans for this day? What are your plans for this segment and the next and the next? What are you looking for in the culmination of this week of motion forward? What are you reaching for? More clarity, more thought, more understanding of ideas that have already come, more access, more clarity, more understanding, more obvious, more inspiration, more momentum, more awareness of momentum, more awareness of my own momentum. All right. Begin right there. You are the one.
we're learning and discovering this new power that we have. That we're genius creators in physical form with the power of the universe flowing through us.
Unless you mess it up.
And
Well, we just want to put you in the driver's seat. I want you to realize that it's all right there for you.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking of it being right there for you, so that your singular intention is upon letting it flow, now you held the key. What can I do right now so that I don't stop the momentum?
right,
How can I keep the momentum of well-being going?
right,
The momentum of clarity, the momentum of discovery, the momentum of self-appreciation, the momentum of well-being.
yes. And we're getting good at it. And because this is a room full of loving, caring people who want to do good things,
Yeah, but it doesn't require that. You don't need one other.
right,
Don't get sucked into that. Don't get sucked into there's power in numbers stuff.
okay,
Because there's more probability of resistance in numbers too.
okay,
You're singularly powerful.
right. So, okay, I feel that I am overflowing with this energy. And I very much want to make a donation to give back this extra energy that I have and be very focused about it.
Give it back to where? To who?
Well, I
Is there a quantifiable pile that is being used up so you'd want to stop your selfishness and give it back?
no.
So that others can find it?
No, and I know that my positive energy is already affecting the people around me, and it's already making a huge positive impact on the people around me. I see it. But I feel that there's a process in there to really focus this energy, and I would like to be able to
But you see,
learn.
that's what messes you up. You get too in your head about how to flow the energy that just naturally flows. You started out, and we appreciate it so much, that you recognize that you have access to this energy that creates worlds. And so it's logical, since you have access to it, that you want to take it and that you want to focus it. But you began thinking about it as a quantifiable amount. You're even wanting to give some of it back. And we want you to have the feeling of this infinite flow. You can't get it wrong. So just flow it and see how it goes, and flow it and see how it goes, and flow it and see how it goes, and flow it and see how it goes. And in the offering of it, there is an immediate and constant replenishing of it.
Yeah.
The way you garner more of it is by expending it. So the more you flow it, the more comes. The more you flow it, the more comes. The more you flow it, the more comes.
I feel that.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's unlimited.
Good.
And I feel that I'm getting good at flowing this energy.
So what are you reaching for here? We can feel that you're leading to something. What is it?
I want to be more focused in
But you
the
see, you can't ask to be more focused without putting yourself on a disc that says, I'm not focused enough. This is the thing that this gathering is helping you to understand. There's a self-judgment about where you are that is slowing you down. That's why we were playfully saying, unless you do something to mess it up. I want to be more focused means I must be less focused than I really want to be. And that's the momentum that you've got going.
But it's all about expansion, right? So I'm expanding in my understanding of this energy.
And is that inevitable?
Yes.
So is it something you have to work at?
No.
There. So now what?
So is there no value in wanting to focus this energy more directly?
Yes, but what you want to do is feel yourself into the focus. rather than think yourself into the focus.
Okay, I do that. I can feel the focus. And so I'm feeling this focus. And so knowing the power of this energy and knowing that it's unlimited, knowing that it's flowing through me.
You see, what you're forgetting, and we're happy to let you ramble a little bit here because you represent what a lot of people are feeling in wanting to be deliberate creators. But the one thing that you are leaving out of this basis of the things that you are saying, you're forgetting that there is a momentum. There's a momentum that does the work. There's a law of attraction that does the work. There's a momentum that does the work. And several of the things that you were expressing here are about you trying. And of course, we teach focus. We teach identifying what is wanted. We ask it every time we begin a gathering. Do you know what you want? Of course, focus is an important part of it. We're just wanting to guide you just a little bit into a heavier dose of allowing and a softer dose of trying. Because in the trying, in the acknowledging that you want something that you don't have, you establish yourself on a vibrational grid that establishes resistance, that even though you've been asking and source is flowing and flowing, you're blocking it with your judgment about where you stand. So we would far rather hear you say something like, I'm doing really good at this and doing better all the time, and I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm following my nose, and I'm mostly really having a good time. And people around me are too. Rather than, I realize that I am a flower of energy, and I want to be the teacher of this, and I want to be of advantage to others, and I want to get into a place where I can really uplift others. There's resistance in that sort of focus. Maybe you can't feel it. Can you hear it a little bit? And that's what we're going to sort of soften and sort out today in these last hours that we are together. And you are the perfect person to get this ball rolling. We love it when you've identified what you want. That's step one of the equation. And we love explaining to you that everything that you need or want to fulfill everything that you need or want is flowing in this effortless, because it is law-based and there is momentum, energy. And that somehow you have to find a way of just relaxing into the momentum. And that's what we mean by getting out ahead of the manifestation. If you're looking at your life and you're acknowledging, well, I'm doing good here and I'm doing good here, and this could use a little work, and I'm doing good here and I'm doing good here, and this could use a little work. Every time you're fighting the judgment that this could use a little work, you're clogging up your own pipes. You're setting resistance into the recipe that then you begin to feel the tension of. And that's what makes people effort. That's what makes you try. That's what makes you struggle. And that's what makes you tired. Where if you get out ahead of it, if instead of saying, there are these things that I need to do, if instead you're out ahead thinking in terms of what you want to do, so that you're focusing on the subjects where the energy is already known by you to be free-flowing. We're not kidding. If you could just find the things that you adore, the things that feel the best to you, and for just a little while, give those things your undivided attention, everything that has been murky, everything that has been slow, everything that has been clogged up will begin breaking free. This is the art of allowing, not the art of effort.
So when we see something in our lives that we want to be better, how do we reframe that then? Instead of, like you said...
For example,
I set up appointments. I take my time to find myself or get myself into a great space, a really fun alignment. And then I set appointments for the future. And when I set my appointments, I'm in a place of inspiration and I'm feeling really great. And then the day happens, the day of the appointment, and I've got several in a row and some of them whatever. And I show up and I'm in the moment and it's happening now. And I realize that I'm not where I want to be. How do I frame that right here, right now, in the moment with the person?
But that's the thing that we're wanting you to understand. Right here, right now is momentum that will play out from what you've already got set in motion. And that's not the time, right here, right now, to try to change the direction of the momentum.
Right.
That's the time to acknowledge the momentum and appreciate the momentum and be playful about the momentum and watch the unfolding as evidence of the momentum. And you can't help but establish a different intention for different momentum, but you just don't hit it so head on. The moments in which you want to focus with the intention of increasing momentum are those moments when you are feeling your very best. Period. If you're having dinner and you all are laughing and having a good time, focus and say, this is a momentum I'd like to keep going. And then relax into that and watch how easy it is to keep that momentum going. Everybody's just playing into it. How easy it is to keep that momentum going. It's recognizing momentum that is flowing and then letting it flow rather than recognizing momentum that isn't flowing and trying to get it to flow. Because when you recognize it isn't flowing and you try to get it to flow, you add to the momentum that's the anti-momentum, so to speak. You clog your pipes more.
Okay.
These are subtle. You are leading edge creators. You know it all. You know that you are creators. And you know that you do it through focus. And you know that it is about energy. And you're coming to know that it is about the way you feel. And now you're coming to understand the difference between resistance and allowing. And in resistance, there is always a slowing of momentum. Period. And in allowing, there is always a speeding of momentum. When you release the brake, the car is going to roll down the hill. It's going to free flow. When you pull that brake, it's going to stop it. You understand resistance and momentum. You've just got to figure out how resistance and how momentum play out for you see. And if you'll pay attention, you can go down your list of things you do, and you can acknowledge resistance, allowing, resistance, allowing, resistance, allowing. You can go down your list of people you spend time with, resistant, allowing, resistant, allowing. You can go down your list of just about everything, the aspects of your own life experience, resistance, allowing. And what we want to remind you is, don't take the resistant aspects and try to fix them. It clogs your pipes. Take the allowing aspects and focus upon them until the momentum will be such that it will sweep everything in its path in the direction of what you want. You could have 9 things not going well and 1 thing going well, and in the one thing, resistance-free, going well, as you give it nearly your undivided attention, in that free-flowing momentum, that momentum will sweep up the other things, and before you know it, all things are going. Or it could be the other way around. You could have 9 things going well and 1 thing not going well, and you could fixate on the 1 thing not going well, and you could introduce such resistance into your equation that suddenly nothing is going well for you. You know that. You've lived it, you see. You just didn't know it in relationship to the law. And now you do.
In relationship to the law.
The law of attraction, the law of momentum, the law of inertia, the law of resistance, the law of allowing, the laws of physics.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel that happening. I very clearly feel that happening,
Good.
and I keep myself wrapped up in the good things very intentionally.
Good.
And so part of this question, it involves, I have been volunteering. It's a big part of my life. And
Volunteering to do what?
all kinds of things, to give back, to help people.
For example?
For example, I'm involved in building a school in Nepal for the kids that don't have homes, and it's a boarding school. And so this has been a great experience for me because I understand this law, and I understand focusing on the positive outcome of the school. And sometimes I feel that it's a little bit difficult when people want to talk about the trouble in Nepal and the issues and...
You think?
And so part of that is getting out ahead of that manifestation, and...
That's pretty heavy duty. And so what happens is you get your quest to be of value out ahead of your practiced allowing. And then you have a rough ride on your way to making the world a better place. You pay a pretty big price when you're efforting your way to that. We would start with easier things. Do you go there? Have you been to Nepal?
Not yet. I'm going this year.
And how long have you been involved in the process?
5 years.
And so, can you see how you've been of greater advantage not being there than if you had been there? Because there's less resistance in your vibration from a distance than if you're up close.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Well, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Is I want to, because I'm going there this year, I want to get out ahead of that manifestation, and I want to, when I am there with the kids and building the school, I want to.
Does anyone feel the struggle in this enterprise? If you were standing in his physical shoes, would you go now? So, your intentions are clear, but the momentum isn't calling you. Your sense of duty is. Your sense of wanting to make the world a better place is. But there's resistance still within that.
Agreed. And so this is what I'm talking about, focusing
Well,
that
stay off
energy.
big things like that. To go to another country where there is a huge amount of momentum going, they have a lifestyle going on, and to swoop in with very well-meaning intentions to make their world better by your standards. You have to convey so much of what you know to those who know something entirely different. There's a huge amount of momentum that you would have to overcome, or that you would have to get going in order to overcome the momentum that they've got going on.
I understand that.
And so, this is what makes people not know their power. They take on big projects out of responsibility or out of virtuous, well-meaning intent before they have a clear understanding of their own power. And then they struggle within the enterprise and not very much gets accomplished. We're not trying to talk you out of anything. If this time-space reality has inspired within you a desire to do something, then by all means, we think you should move in the direction of that. But we wouldn't go until it feels like the most natural, easy flowing thing in the world. And that is hard for people to hear, because in most cases, nearly every one of you in this room would say to us, I hardly would do anything then, Abraham. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't go to work. Pretty sure I wouldn't go to the family reunions. There's a lot of things I do out of obligation and responsibility. And we say, yeah, you buck your own current all the time. You buck your own current all the time. You do what you should do rather than get into the current of your own natural momentum, you see.
And that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, we'll be talking about it all day here today.
Okay.